So it's an extremely exciting election for women running for office. We have record numbers at all levels. We have about a 20% increase in the number of women running for the Senate, 40% increase the number of women that are running for the House, and about a 50% increase the number of women that are running for governor since the previous records. So we've already broken all of those records in terms of numbers of women in the general election. And similar in Iowa, we've have 91 women on the general election ballot. The previous record was 65. So again, shattering records. I think what's interesting, in addition to the sheer number of women that are running, is the variety of women that are running. So we're seeing more diversity in the women candidates that were running from different racial and ethnic backgrounds, sexual orientations, immigrants. So not just more white women, but a lot more white straight women, but a lot of women in general, which is noteworthy. We see more younger women running. Noteworthy in Iowa is Abby Finkenauer. She's 29 years old, and if elected, depending on if another woman's elected, she would be the first or the youngest woman ever elected to the U.S. Congress. Similarly, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in New York, 28 years old. So she also could be the youngest woman ever elected to Congress. So a lot of times what we've seen historically is that women were waiting a little bit later in life to run, particularly for national level office. So when they had children and those children were a little bit older, at least in high school, you see people like Nancy Pelosi, for example, that waited until she had grandchildren before she ran for office. But we're seeing women much younger run. So that's certainly exciting that the younger generation and the younger generation of women are engaged in politics. We also have seen some interesting things in terms of strategy, and some of that comes with the background of women. So we have, for the first time really, a lot of women running with military backgrounds, which up until recently, that hasn't been a qualification that women have had because they weren't allowed to be in more close combat sort of roles. So MJ Hager in Texas had an ad that went viral called Doors. It was a longer web ad, but she tells the story of being a fighter pilot, the injuries she sustained, suing the Pentagon to get women in combat roles, and really talks about that experience as a woman, but also with her military experience. Similarly, Amy McGrath has a military background as well. One of her advertisements has her next to like a fighter plane. And so really demonstrating that military background visually, but also connecting it to the fact that they're women, which is a really unique time. And then we've seen some interesting things that have got some media coverage nationally. Women breastfeeding in ads. It was not something we really saw before this election. There was a woman in Maryland, and the other was in Wisconsin, both gubernatorial candidates that were breastfeeding in their ads, and kind of really showed the human nature of, yeah, I'm a woman, I'm running for office, I'm a mother, and I've got to do these things to get through my day. And some of them is feeding my child, and some of it might be making laws. So really demonstrating that they can do it all, which is one of the challenges that female candidates have had in the past. So it's extremely interesting to see the different strategies that we have from women, both running for federal office, gubernatorial races, and then looking here at our own state legislature and the increase in number of women running. We can kind of look at their advertisements and their social media to see how they're targeting voters. In a lot of cases, particularly female voters. Women tend to swing elections. Men tend to be pretty evenly split. Women often determine the outcome of presidential elections, so women are targeted more often, and we're seeing women candidates really trying to talk to women as women, and that's one of the most noteworthy things I think about this election.